Greetings, everyone. I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion. You can tell from the title up there. Continuing my trek through the episodes of Batman the Animated Series, a classic cartoon from the 90s that was a staple of my early childhood. Just a little quick thing. I'm sorry this one's come out a little later than I intended. Just was a little too busy with other stuff. This is episode 13 in production order, and episode that, from what I gather, is considered one of the worst by both fans and, of course, the production team. I've got a Batman in my basement. The teleplay for this was written by Sam Graham and Chris Hubble, and this is the first appearance of the Penguin in the show, of course, voiced by Paul Williams, and he's got the perfect voice for the Penguin. Now, just to get the Band-Aid off, so far, I'd say this is definitely in the weaker of the episodes. It was an okay one just watching it, but other than me just marathon watching it again, I probably am not going to go out of my way to watch this episode. If I marathon watch stuff, I'll probably just skip it. And if this show had come out later in the series history, or even the history of the DC animated universe, I probably would hate it a bit more, but considering it's 13 episodes in, and remember the original run of this show before they renewed it for more episodes, and even before the second show was 65, so 13 out of 65, I don't think that's bad. I mean, they had finally gotten the gist of it, but having some bad shows still this early on, or some lesser shows, it's not that bad, especially what we're going to follow this up with. But I can see why the production team and a lot of my fellow fans would say it's the worst, because it's definitely one of those ideas that really leans more into the kids' cartoon aspect of it, which, given that part of the plot and the fact that the show is mainly aimed at kids, especially on Fox Kids, I can kind of see what they're going for with it. It's just, as an adult, it's like, it doesn't grab me as much. Now, this is what Bruce Timm had to say about this episode. I can't even watch that show. It's the epitome of what we don't want to do with Batman. Strangely enough, kids like it. The script came in and it was terrible. Normally, I tell the director to do what he can to make it interesting, and nobody could figure out a way to make it interesting. The storyboard artist didn't care, and it shows. Door opening. Alright. Now, the plot is Batman is dealing with a theft being committed by the Penguin and two of his goons, which I love the setup for it. His goons break in, they steal this jewel that kind of looks like it's egg themed, so kind of going with the whole bird vibe with Penguin right from the start. And I love the little bit of dialogue where he's like, yeah, we got it, boss was right, 5 minutes. Yeah, and it's going to get you 5 years with good behavior. And then Batman gets attacked by a vulture, so keep it on theme with the bird. Now, while Batman's dealing with Penguin and his goons, we're introduced to these kid characters who are really into detectives. We got two layers of kids. We got some younger kids and then kids that are a little bit older than them. They like to pick on them. What we see is that these two friends, one's a boy, one's a girl, and it seems like it's all platonic. There's no hints in it of it being like childhood crush type thing, which I think is interesting for a show made in the early 90s, that they did that in there, because, you know, you can have friends of the opposite gender and it just be platonic. It doesn't always have to have some type of romantic thing with it. Now, they're dealing with this whole little detective kit. It includes some binoculars. The older kids grab it and start looking at stuff. And this, of course, they see the vulture and they're like, that's weird. Well, this leads to the two guys, the guy and the girl, finding Batman after he gets knocked out with some gas from the Penguin. And they take him into the basement. Hence the title, I got a Batman in my basement. Now there is a little bit of humor with this, where like the boy's mother is telling him that she's going to the store. Or before that, she checks on him. What are you doing? You're not making gunpowder in the basement again, are you? Which I'll admit, that got a chuckle out of me. Given what we see from the kid in the short time we see him, I could see him trying to make gunpowder from scratch in his basement. Like, getting so hyper-focused on either some type of history involving gunpowder, whether it be Chinese history and finding out how they used to make gunpowder for rockets, or how old-school gunpowder for muskets was made, and then trying to make it himself and it going wrong. It's just so funny in the way the mother delivers it, which I'm sorry I didn't put the voice actor for the mother in here, but just the way she so delivers it. You're not making gunpowder in the basement again, are you? It just makes it's so funny. And then of course his friend is all like, yeah, we're just playing detective. We got Batman down here. And it's like no one's gonna believe that, and no one does believe it till the end, because Penguin and his goons find out where Batman's laid up. They go in there, and Penguin really trashes the house. With his character, they really show that he is an upper-class snob, or at least believes he is one. And he's looking around the house, he's like, oh, so undignified. Trashing this house would make it better. And then they start trashing it. They end up in the basement, a little bit of a scuffle. And the side effects of the gas wears off on Batman, so he does what he does best to villains. And then when the mother comes back home and sees the mess Penguin and his goons had made, you know she's really going to lay into her son. And then when she actually sees Batman's down there, she's like, oh, you were telling the truth. And to add on to this, the older kids at one point find the Batmobile and actually see Batman's in there. So by the end of it, they are now friends with the two, and they do like this old little detective agency thing for the neighborhood, which I think for the kids is a nice little way to end it for their arcs, and of course for kids watching, definitely put themselves into the place of these kids. So like Bruce said, I can kind of see why kids would like this episode. I don't remember anything about seeing this episode as a kid, so I cannot comment on that. Anyone that watched this and remember seeing this episode as a kid, let me know if you can remember what you thought. Nice little thing in the comment section. The only other thing to say is that it's the first appearance of Penguin. It's not bad, but from the get-go, since this is the first episode he's in, you can really tell that other than like bird-themed stuff, there's not really a lot that they can do with him. And I'm going to be honest, for the original Batman the Animated Series run, the main episodes I can remember involving Penguin are going to be, of course, his appearance in Almost Got Him, and the episode where he gets out of jail and seeing that one lady. That's about it. Every other appearance I could think of him is after his redesign for the new Batman Adventures. And of course, this whole thing with Penguin is, of course, because the creators didn't know what to do with him. They were going to try to do him originally as a cerebral sort of villain who relied on his wits rather than his fists, which would have been interesting. And then they were going to turn him into a bird-loving, Norman Bates-style mama's boy, always under the thumb of his overly protected but unseen mother, which I think would have been interesting. I mean, you could have kept some of the bird-themed stuff here, but then you could have had some jokes in there and be like, mother is not going to be pleased by this. She's going to have to waste more bail money on me. But those were scrapped because they had to synergize with the upcoming film Batman Returns, and that's also why we're in a couple episodes time when we see Catwoman, why she had blonde hair and her outfit was designed the way it was. And so Penguin was retooled to more closely resemble his live action counterpart, and Bruce Timm, I guess, even visited the set and sketched Danny DeVito in full costume. And that's why there's a vague resemblance. They kind of take the basic thing and go off on their own tangent. And the thing that's interesting is that nobody really, at least I didn't catch one in this episode, but and from what I remember, no one really comments on Penguin's appearance, I think, until the one where he's dating her. They just treat him like it's normal, which is interesting. And with that, I could kind of understand why they retooled his design for the follow-up, because if you're not going to really play into the show and all that, why do it? And there's like some minor differences and all that. And like I said, Paul Williams does a good job. It's just, out of all the villains that they do, especially what we're going to see in the next episode, when they take a villain that was essentially a joke and reinvent him to the point that it basically redefines the whole character in the comics, it makes you wonder how they would drop the ball so much with Penguin. Crap happens. And that's really all there is to say about this episode, because the only other thing is the animation is alright. Music, I don't really remember a lot about it, other than it fit the tone of the scenes. That's about it I can say. Now we go from what is considered the worst episode of the show, what is undisputedly considered one of the best episodes, if not the best episode, of not only this original run, but I guess you could say of any cartoon based on a comic book. And that, of course, is going to be the episode that reinvented Mr. Freeze, the Emmy-winning episode, Heart of Ice. And, of course, that'll be next time, everybody.